everyone, Joe here from ActionX. Welcome to What's in the Tube, or welcome back. If this is your fourth The Rookie Season 8 episode review, hope you're doing well, hope you're staying safe out there in the big old world. 4 weeks, and we're on Mondays. Just the notion of how time changes. Yeah. So with that being said, I thought this would be a bit of a more of an adjustment. I think I alluded to this last week on the show that I was about to kickstart a brand new job, a brand new employment. But however, because if you're unaware, we had a pretty big snowstorm. Everything got delayed, including my start. But so not quite exactly where I thought I would be tonight specifically, but I actually did when I was watching the episodes. Like, kind of funny. It's kind of funny how sometimes the real world, the TV show world, kind of relates to the viewer itself. It's supposed to be a relatable thing, and this is just one of those cases where like a little bit, just a little, not like exactly one to one, but like kind of a little bit. So, but with this week's episode, I was very pleased and very satisfied with it. It kind of felt a little longer than I expected. Like, I don't know if it was just like the hour, just kind of like it took its sweet time, or just like we just had so much going on that like just the processing power of everything. Because this was a very like we had characters all over the place this week, and not to say it's a bad thing whatsoever. It's just like it was a lot to do. It's like it's like I feel like this is like one of the like the rare moments I feel for the rookie. Like, having too big of an expanded cast can kind of be a little bit like, yeah, if you're not cutting certain people out or putting people in cameo roles for the week, it kind of feels like a very bloated episode. Not in a bad way, but more along the lines of like, you kind of lose a little bit of the luster. Not like in a bad sense. I'm not saying like that, but I'm just like, you kind of get deterred a little bit. It's like, oh right, we were over here, now we're over here, and like, oh wait, I forgot we were doing this completely. So again, I praise the writers and the team for at least making the best of the 44 minutes we got. But still, it was still very much like an intriguing episode to look at and to watch at the end of the day. But I still enjoyed it regardless of it. I think again, the rookie's still pushing the boundaries with again, 8th season. You've done over 100 episodes. What more could we do? And I think there's still room in the tank. And it does present an interesting opportunity to kind of see where, in one mini aspect of it, where the rookie could go from here when it comes to selective characters. Again, it's all about like, I praise the rookie for at least finding ways to like, we conclude certain things with certain character, but now we're moving on to other things. And that gets me a little bit more excited on the matter to see how exactly does it all fare out to be. So with all that being said, let's go for the Butcher recap and talk about this week's episode of The Rookie. So we begin in a LA market, which I am 90% certain I was there a little over 3 years ago. It looks kind of similar in certain angles. I'm not sure if there's another version of it in the city. It's the market. I had tacos there. They were really yummy. They were really yummy tacos. They were really yummy. But I'm not quite sure if it is exactly the same market. There's multiple of them. I only been to LA one time in my life. I would love to go back, and this time with a more of a rookie perspective on the matter of things. So, but again, we'll see. But like, Nolan and Bailey are there for a date night, even though it's clearly daytime. But it's a dinner date. But however, it's not like a usual date night. But typically, as they're meeting up with Bailey's old commander, when she was in the forces, purely catch up, as at least that's their indication of it. And also to meet Nolan, who he hasn't gotten a chance to meet yet. They introduce each other, and I swear to God, this guy looks familiar. I can't remember calling him. IMDb did not have the listing posted yet. I don't know, but if he does pop up to play, I'll double check again. But he does look strangely familiar. I think if I take away the mustache, it kind of looks like someone I met before in another show or movie. But I can't remember him quite now. But now he's working in DC, private sector, in the Pentagon governmental job, and he's forming together a new team. It's like, I don't know what's going on. Like, this year we got Garza making his own team. Now we got this guy making his own team. It's like everyone's making new teams. It's like, what's that all about? But yeah, so he's creating a think tank, which essentially means is the governmental term for like, it's a group of people. They're presented a situation, and you kind of have to figure out, what do we do, what is going on, and how do we solve this. And Bailey is the first selection for this new team. Obviously, Bailey's taken aback by it. And he's like, well, look, I know you, I know your work ethic, and I know 100% you would be capable for the job. So I would love for you to join the team. And of course, obviously, talking with him, figure it out. If you have an answer, so, get in touch. Obviously, initially, Nolan and Bailey are kind of dismissive on the idea since, like, again, their entire life is in LA. Her job, his job, their careers, their home. So it's just not something that they would even explore right now, so to speak. But sadly, before they can continue speaking more about it, two individuals shoot a man in cold blood. They start to run away, and Bailey attempts to aid the victim, but sadly he's already dead on sight. And Nolan tries to get the two individuals, but since it's such a crowded, narrow space, there really isn't that much opportunity for him to catch the pair, so to speak. So I believe from there we go over to. I'm trying to remember exactly where we're at. I'm trying to remember 100%. I can't recall. No, yes, we are at a house. No, we're at the Wesley and Lopez's home. Apparently, Lopez is on the house market. She's looking for a new home for them to buy since, sadly, as their kids grow older and older, they need more space. And the house they have is kind of limited, even if it looks like very spacious. It's still a limited house, so they're looking at. But well, at least she's looking at for a new home. But Wesley's a little bit apprehensive since like it's the home where they started their family, and at the same time, the market is like horrible right now to be purchasing a house. But Lopez, continuing from last week's, like, okay, you know what? I waited long enough. We are past the questionability point. Middle class detective marrying a rich lawyer. We're past the questionability zone. They're in love with each other now. She's starting to like, let's crack open that trust fund. Let's start to utilize that money. And Wesley's like, no, but he is open to the idea. He is very much open to the idea of it. We cut over to the station where Lopez is immediately showing Harper some objects of like potential new homes that they could be looking at. The potentials are high. Nolan gets caught by the two about the first Nolan asks about the DC transfer, hypothetically speaking. After he gets asked to recap the events from his perspective on things, that's when Nolan kind of teases the fact that Bailey got a job offer essentially in DC. And Harper briefly alludes and like, yeah, DC PD, not exactly the most glamorous job in the world, as well as this is Bailey we're talking about. 100% she's probably thinking in her brain of like, why don't I take this job? So from there, I believe we cut over to Bradford and Chen, who Chen is about to is not on duty today. Technically, she's heading over to court to testify in a machete-related accident, or machete-related murder on a bus. Not the bus episode. It's a completely different bus, or is it? I don't think so. Sadly, however, the machete that she was supposed to receive from evidence to bring to court has been sadly mislabeled. So she's talking to Bradford and hopes that he can use his watch commander status to kind of override the process, just try to find it somewhere. Sadly, the evidence room man does not know where it is because apparently, well, first they go for the entire, maybe they made a mistake in the digits and that's just how they entered it. So they look for everything. We have a little bit of a brief montage. They can't find anything. But sadly, apparently 2 months ago, because there was a lot of, apparently it's all stored in one massive database, which I don't understand why you did that. I think would have been simpler to like just keep it in house, but to each their own. And from there, sadly, that's when Chen remembers that 2 months ago, when she was there on the case, she gave Smithy the machete to process, and which is a little confusing on the timeline. Has it already been 2 months since season 8 premiered? I could be wrong though. Like, there's never going to be a good spectrum of like where does the timetables line up, considering the fact she pointed out to Bradford like, oh, you denied the overtime, so I couldn't work extra, so I gave it to Smithy, who was still in hours. So I'm like, so if Bradford became watch commander 2 months, we only been like what 3 weeks into this. I'm like, how long have the rookie passed by? Like, okay, we already just got the confirmation 2 weeks ago that it's been 5 years since the show started, in Time Universe. And there's even another joke that I'm like, I gotta review that again. This timeline thing doesn't make sense at all. Where were we with that? Yeah. So from there, I believe. So yeah, Smithy's involved in this. I'm like, yeah, this cannot end well whatsoever. This will not 100% end well. So I believe the next thing they look at, no, we cut to the DA's office. It's been a while, Wesley's always coming to LAPD. Let us go to the DA's office. Let us see where Wesley works. And his rival slash unofficial rival is yelling at him and like berating him. He's like, I swear to God, if you do what I think you're gonna do, you're gonna regret it. I'm gonna destroy you. And I'm just like, I'm so confused. Apparently, there is some Democratic Party representatives here to vouch and want Wesley to run for DA, which I know we did tease about at the end of season 7, but Wesley did some pondering. It was just like the immediate rush after, okay, my boss is gone, he vacated the role. Now, what does that leave me? Maybe I could slide in there, but he's like, yeah, you know what, never mind, I don't want to do it anymore. But with that said, they do persuade him of potentially look, you're gonna be an easy shoe when you have an officer of the law as your wife. You did make some controversial, legal decisions, but again, people nowadays are more about breaking the system, breaking the norm, which I'm like, yeah, sure. Like last time someone said that, like, who knows what happened, but anyway, he is leaning toward the idea. Let's just say it that much. So from there, I believe we cut back over to Nolan this time with Penn. Um, yeah, with Miles specifically about. They look at the footage. There was a recent security camera thing that kind of caught them off guard with two individuals, two kids. Um, that was cause for concern. They both kind of match the people in the video, but they don't have 100% concrete footage. So the only thing they can do right now to disassociate a gang connection is they need to go to get the toxicology report just to prove that he's not a drug user whatsoever. So they go to the morgue. Now, not 100% sure because it's all ties in. This all ties in. Every time I do a rookie rewatch leading into the new season, there's always some connection. I don't know how. I don't know. You don't say. It's like when we did season 5, and the week before I did the season 1 review, there was a tie-in with that, and then 2 and 6, and then 3 and 7 now with 4 and 8. The reason is that the morgue doctor kind of looks like the same morgue doctor from season 4. Now, is that the same dude 4 years later? I don't know. I seen the man one time, but regardless of that, the wife is there of the deceased. She's grieving. She just wants to see the body to ID him, to see him one more time. He's, of course, declining that because the policy have changed. They don't do that anymore. So even Nolan has to vouch for him. They're like, yeah, no, we can't do that, it's just emotionally, it's just not a good thing to see your loved one, deceased and gone already. So from there, I'm going to say we go over to... Where do we go from there? Oh, no, we're still in the same scene. So Nolan talks with him. He said, yeah, no, nothing strikes out of the ordinary with this guy. As soon as the talk report comes in, I'll send it over to the detectives. So they're like, great, they're about to head out, start to like speculate what's their next move. And next thing you know, they assumedly see the wife being attacked by someone in the staircase. They go in, but it turns out to be a makeout session with another dude. So they're like, oh great, so your husband dies not less than 24 hours ago and you're already making out with the next dude. You need to come with us. So at the station, they interrogate the two. Apparently, the wife and the deceased has an open marriage, so they're free to do whatever they want. But at least for the knowledge being, it's only the wife getting the secondary action. And obviously, of course, they question, okay, well, maybe you two had a lot of chemistry. Then maybe you want to cut the middleman out, just focus on you guys. And she's like, no, like I'm doing it because he's fun. He's more sexually active compared to my husband. But from an emotional core, this guy's at Coney Island. And my husband, R.I.P., is Paris. That is a beautiful analogy. That is also perverted. But anyway, so they immediately ruled them out as subjects. Wesley's rival DA also... rival lawyer comes in as well, yells at Lopez, like, I'm just letting you know, if your husband runs for office, I will get involved. I will put you in the middle too. And she gets confused as hell. Wesley just happens to be there because of the whole Chen and Machete with Smithy confusion. And that's when Wesley kind of re-explores, tells her, like, yeah, he is re-exploring the idea of running for DA. There is some sponsors. They're looking to invest. And obviously... she's a little bit annoyed because, like, the last time we talked about this, he kind of didn't want to do it. So what was a sudden change of heart? And it's kind of all of a sudden now it's kind of being official, which again didn't involve my involvement. Harper is, of course, like immediately like once Wesley leaves, and then of course Lopez gives him the cold shoulder. Harper's like, yeah, okay, so I got a plan. Let's come to dinner tonight. We're gonna basically everyone's gonna like peer pressure him to get him off the DA circuit. Meanwhile, back at the evidence room, Smithy is trying to explain his backlog of mine. Apparently, there was an official memo sent out 2 months ago, but Smithy's like, if the memo is not read at the bullpen meeting, I don't read it. And apparently, Bradford's like, no, Gray did just before he left. And Gray's like, and Lou also comes in and is like, no, he didn't. No, I didn't. I had a last day, a lot of things to do. I just cut it. I just made it brief and sweet. Then you were supposed to take it over the next day. And Bradford's like, shit, I didn't do that. Which I'm like, Bradford. Like, what's going on with you, man? What's going on? You're 2 for 2, all right? You're 2 for 2. Jen's like, I don't got time for this. I really don't. Look, we got to basically look for everything in the past. The problem is that because they went from a date, month, year system, now it's a month, date, year, which I'm like, wouldn't the month always come first for classification? Like, who organizes it with dates? Anyway, so he's like, no, the system's dropped down. It's not typing. Not much I can do. And of course, obviously, Chen is like, great. So what can they do right now? All they can do is pull every single evidence box that they can kind of guesstimate would be similar to what would the system classify it now. So, which includes a lot of boxes, which now volunteers Chen, Bradford, and Gray, as well as a couple of offhand people to pursue and look for a machete. And Wesley's like, well, I got you your extension, but you better find the machete by tomorrow afternoon. Otherwise, the guy's going to walk. I believe once they got everything and they matched to the kids in the video, they do find him at his apartment complex, but he runs for it. Miles doing the full run up the stairs. Nolan showcasing his age takes the elevator, but they both get there at the same time, and they do manage to corral him. But sadly, he does get the brief escape. But however, he attempts to cross over buildings. But sadly, he slips and he dies upon impact. So they're like, great, we have lost one person off of this matter. But that sadly, that is the end of the I believe the day shift. I don't think there is much else that was happening with that particular day. Bradford's kind of being, again, overwhelmed by the fact that, like, Smithy kind of made this mistake, but at the same time, he made the mistake for not crossing his T's and I's. So, but Gray does give a little bit of a condolence to Chen, like, hey, look, I wouldn't have given the job to Bradford. I didn't think he would handle it. It's first month. He's just beginning this job. There's going to be some missteps, but he's going to power through. It will take him some time, but he will get through that. This is just a misstep on the road. Nothing to worry about. Then I believe we had multiple people were having dinner. I think we'll just start with Miles and Selena, who are discussing over Chinese food, just how profane everyone knows about gangs and just like, relationships and stuff like that, history. And she's like, yeah, no, like, well, it's not even just like knowing and talking to the right people. It's also like, having your own third-party connections outside the LAPD resources. You can go to forums, kind of get the lowdown. Someone's probably leaking this information. People are talking about it. So it's a really good resource to kind of, figure out what the what is on this. Even Selena volunteering to like, hey, here's some websites that I use to like gather information on my free time. If you want to take a look at that, you're more than welcome to. It is very helpful as a result. I believe from there we head over to the Nolan residence where Bailey, which I completely forgot, Bailey had a scene with her commanding officer, her former commanding officer, who came by before his flight, just to check in if she does have an answer. She does not right now. They're, again, not pursuing it, but the guy's very insistent. He's like, look, I understand moving to a new city with your husband isn't exactly protocol, but like, I believe you are the right fit for this team. I know you will do exceptionally well here. You may not be, the usual candidates, but I don't need the usual candidates. I need people that think outside the box. I need people that, are go-getters. There are people that, like, they are determined, and you're all of that. And so I'm making the right choice by selecting you, even if it's not, usual protocol. I know what I'm doing here. But he said, like, take a few more days, call me when you can, let me know what you say, and then we'll make the arrangements, or we won't make the arrangements. it'll be what it is. Um, so I believe from the yeah, that's when like she makes a whole ass dinner for Nolan, salad, soup, chicken, the works, just trying to like give him the possibility of being open minded of like, look, I know we said no, I know we were immediately dismissive, but like I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I kind of really want to see if could be something I can do, really. But of course, obviously, we're married. We're a partnership. It's both hands got to be on board with this, before we do any sort of decision. So maybe talk to your peers, see if anyone has any opinionated thoughts about the DCPD. See if that could be something we could do for your career to at least keep it going in law enforcement, and could take it from there. Um, Nolan's like, yeah, no, I will. I'll definitely keep it open because he wants the best for Bailey and right, he should be. Um, from there, I believe we head over to we head to Lopez and Wesley's place where James and Harper have arrived for dinner. They're talking about things. Initially, it's just like the whole anti-DA thing kind of falls apart pretty quickly, as everyone's kind of like saying, well, the offices could use this, and Wesley is pro this, so it will be a pretty big boom to allow that to happen. Obviously, Lopez, Harper, and James are giving each other all the side eyes as they're kind of figuring this out until eventually, obviously the thing that Lopez was fearing is that that because of him wanting to push for a more affordable option, pushing away on like the rich and everything, that moving to a new house right now would not be proper image standards for a new DA. So definitely would take away from the messaging, and of course Lopez doesn't like that since she doesn't want the outside world to influence their decisions. But at the Bradford, but Wesley's like, but at the same time, like if you want to make changes, you got to do sacrifices. So if sacrificing a new house to pitch to more people that like, hey, I'm the guy you need in office to make some of these changes. That's kind of where like they're kind of in stand. But Wesley at least drops the choice of to Lopez, like, if you're 100% on board with this, I will run for office. If you're not, I won't. Families first. But so the ball is technically in Lopez's corner right now, so to speak. We cut to the next morning, technically speaking, as Selena's talking to Roger over some video call feature. Miles did get a hit on one of their suspects that apparently he was a foster child, jumped around a lot before his final home for a few years, and that was the correlation, the connection, because when they bring it back to Nolan and Lopez and Harper, apparently the two kids that were in the video were actually the same kids that a foster mom both raised. So there is a formal connection. And the motive is that, sadly, a couple weeks ago, she was involved in a hit and run. She was abandoned by a fleeing car, which is a cause for concern. And, of course, obviously, it was a red vehicle, which the deceased also has a red vehicle. So it kind of makes sense that he made a mistake for whatever reason. He ran off not to explore any consequences, trying to hide under the fact. But somehow these two kids managed to kind of put the pieces together, which was motive for them to kill him, and so now they have to go to the foster mama who is recovering. She did not die, thankfully speaking. Doug giving a little bit of a background on the kids. She took them in. Initially, they were both like very shy with each other, very much not talkative, but eventually, as time goes on, they became best friends. They became close amigos, more like brothers, but sadly one of their real moms came back into the picture, bringing them back, separating them, and they kind of both went down different darker paths, which led to one of them being fully incarcerated for a while. So sadly, because of that decision, it just led to the way it is. And that's when Lopez and Harper does break the news to her, like, yeah, no, so the person that hit you was murdered by them, and sadly add more to the cake is that one of them did die yesterday trying to flee police. So obviously she gets really hit, really gutted, and she doesn't feel proud of it, considering the fact that maybe things could have been avoided a little bit, but sadly that this is not the timeline they're living in right now. So she agrees to sign off on trying to help them find the other one. Harper ringing in Nolan and Miles on the matter. That's when Nolan does ask Harper about her thoughts on DCPD, and she's like, well, yeah, I apologize if, like, I made it sound like 100% a horrible posting. It's not. It's just a different beast. It's like, it's mostly stationary work. You're mostly posting on at a political landscape, and that's your shift, basically speaking. You know, you're not doing more of the heavy hitting, stuff that we do here. So it is a change of scenery, so to speak. Um, so that does definitely dissuade Nolan on the idea and the prospect for the time being. We cut back over to the station. They're still looking for the boxes. They're looking for everything. Thankfully, Bradford was able to find the machete after some time, after Chen gave him a little bit of words of encouragement, like, yeah, don't worry about things. You are still a great watch commander, and it will take time for you to iron out the remaining kinks you may have in your system. Um, I believe from there, that's when... Um, I think when we get to that point, I think that's when we pull back into the foster mom. She does call her other foster son. He does pick up the phone. They do speak up about things a little bit. So yeah, she's kind of letting in slowly on the matter. Like, I know what you did. I'm sorry. I'm aware of it. What are you gonna do? I think you should turn yourself in. And he's like, no, I got a plan. I'm gonna go to Mexico. Don't worry about it. I'll be fine. And that's when Harper tries to intervene, letting him know that if you try to run away, we will escalate your charges. And obviously, he drops the phone, not wanting to get busted by them. So definitely now it's a race against the clock on that one. I believe from there we go. So the kid goes to meet up with his some of his gang members in a house. He asks the leader to get him some assistance, trying to get him to Mexico. He's like, for sure, you part of us. We'll get you where you need to go. Just give me some time to make some few calls. But sadly, as he returns back to them, hoping to have some answers, having some news, apparently they're turning against him because they're aware that he teamed up with his former foster brother. Doesn't matter the background, since they're both affiliated with rival gangs. That still is a betrayal to them. So they're looking to kind of beat him up and kind of kill him as a punishment for his betrayal. Um, so from there, yeah. So no, not for that. They just beat him up. There was another youngling, another friend of his that was there. The leader gives him the gun to, like, show him, like, hey, look, this is one of those moments. You got to step up, show us you're one of us. You will be remembered no matter what happens next to your life as this moment. So he's about to pull the trigger. Thankfully, Nolan and the others do arrive at the nick of time. They manage to take out most of the gang members. Sadly, however, the kid does both of them get away, kind of, when they intercept it in the kitchen. He makes a decision. He shoots him in the head, which I'm like, damn. I was really hoping it was going to be one of those, like, he shoots to kind of relieve the tension, but he doesn't kill him, but no, he kills him. Obviously, Nolan looks at him in a disappointment, like, damn, you could have made the right call here, but sadly, the decision was made. So the matter is over. Sadly, the murder can never be fully paid for by them because they're both deceased now. So it's just a sad reality of the situation. Miles processes him. Nolan takes over the paperwork while Miles heads back home to kind of decompress after his day. Nolan stops by to Gray while he's finishing up the reorganization of Smithy's work, where Nolan asks him candidly, like, what is the avenues of moving to the DCPD? Like, what does that look like? And Gray's like, no, I have some connections. I could definitely hook you up with some conversations to get the process started for acceptance. The only downside is that because technically it's similar to back in season 2 when Bradford asked about going to the NYPD. Gray's basically canon saying, hey, look, that is a big demotion. You are not going to just be an FTO, a TO over there. You're not. You're starting over. In fact, even worse, you have to go to the academy all over again because it's a different beast over there. It's not the same as LAPD. So you would essentially be starting all over again, and you're older now. So yeah, the whole running trend of, like, you're the oldest rookie may not stick over there because you're older. You were 45 when you joined. Now you're 50. So doing that whole process all over again may not be in your best interests. Which Nolan's like, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. And, obviously Gray's like, look, whatever you choose at the end, just know that if you do decide to leave for Bailey, the LAPD will miss you. Which Nolan does appreciate the sentiment on. Chen tells to Bradford that the case is over. They won. The judge didn't want to hear exactly what the hell happened with that piece of evidence. The point is they got it. They have it. So they managed to win on it. And that's, again, Chen giving Bradford a little bit more encouragement that, it's going to be okay. You're going to be great in your job. Do not worry about it. You got this. Just it'll take a little bit of time, and then they start speculating. Do you think Smithy did this all on purpose? So we basically did all of his work for him for 2 months, and Smithy kind of looks at the boxes passing by, like kind of like maybe this guy was planning something. Maybe this guy was. Um, from there, I believe we cross back over to um. Yeah, we cut back over to Nolan going back home. Oh no, no, actually, no, I want to say that for the end. Lopez and Wesley meet back up. Wesley had another long day in the office, but Lopez does tell Wesley, "Hey, look, I'm on your side. I'm on your team. So if you want to go for the DA role, go for it. I got your back. We will make do on it. We will find a way to make this all work." Which, of course, Wesley thanks her for it. That he will make it up to her at some point. But the fact is, right now, their home is still their home for the time being. That there will come a time, but right now it's the home that they made their family in. So definitely, it is it is something they cannot forget about and that they will cherish for the moment. Meanwhile, on Nolan's spectrum, he goes to Bailey. They speak about it. Nolan just immediately drops on her, like, yeah, no, I talked about it with everyone. It's literally going to be a huge demotion for me. I don't think it's something that I can explore and do at this time. Bailey sadly does go back on her word a little bit, saying that even though she did agree that if Nolan does not sign off on it to move together to DC, she will not do it. But sadly, she has decided she does want to go for the offer. She does want to do the opportunity, because it's her nature to do so. It's her thing to explore these new challenges. But sadly, what does that mean for them? What does that mean for their marriage? What does that mean for just in general, period? But that was it for this week's episode of The Rookie. I really liked the episode. I did. I think the main story point of the event, I guess, getting justice for a foster mom was sincere, and as it was just sad the circumstances. Like, not every time, like, everyone can live through a situation and just pay for their consequence. Sometimes you have to pay the ultimate consequence. So it does showcase that revenge is never the answer, really. You should always do what you feel it's right in the moment, but sometimes it doesn't always work out for that to be the case. I will say, for again, Wesley fully going to the DA front, I think that's the next logical step for his character. Whether he actually wins or not is a completely different thing. We will see how that goes, but the fact that it's gonna be another new hierarchy position. I think they're positioning the rookie for this level of change, which honestly I really am excited for. I really am. I do believe that having these people up top is definitely gonna change some things around here for the betterment of the future. But for Nolan and Bailey's case, Bailey moving to DC, and yeah, sadly the promos did kind of spoil it, like she was gonna somehow be there anyway. How is that going to work with them? I really don't know. I know Nolan always makes things work, but can he actually be apart from his wife for like a very long time? That's it's a really big concern, but that's going to have to be sadly the challenge they'll have to face. Which again, like Nolan has kind of, like I said, in 5 and 6, he's kind of rolled through like a lot of like smooth sailing for a while. It was kind of time for him to kind of get some bumps in the road. But sad to say, his happily ever after is still very much punted back a little bit more. So on that, and Bradford and Chen, they're just showcasing like you can be in a relationship but also work together. They're very healthy. They're very organic for each other. Again, this season's all about handling new titles, new responsibilities. So Bradford, not getting Watch Commander role, 100% down pat at the start. That was going to happen. It was never going to be an easy task for him to go through. And so I appreciate them showing that struggle with him, and Chen just being a supportive, not only just a co-worker, but also a partner for him as well. So it definitely does help out in that matter for both of them. So that's really that's all we're rooting for now. So overall, but I will say that I think the only gripes I have with this episode is that there was a little bit too much going on, a little bit too much, but Smithy kind of balanced things out a little bit, so I'm gonna give them points with that. So with all that being said, I'm gonna give this episode still 2 thumbs up. Let me know down below what you think of this week's episode of The Rookie. Did you love it? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I'd love to have the conversation with you about it. But I believe that's gonna do it for me today, everyone. So if you're unaware, this has been What's the Two from ActionX, reviewing every episode in the 8th season of The Rookie. If you want to know what we're doing normally, what's the two besides our rookie episode reviews. Right now, we're just doing rookie reviews. We will be Madlock will be back next month. We have a brand new After the Theater movie review out for your consumption. It's for Captain America: Brave New World, so you can go check that out, please. We appreciate all the support we can get. But if you don't care about the rookie, you're in luck. We will be back next week with another brand new episode review for you, so stay tuned until then. But again, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, like, favorite, share if you want to, ring that bell, and follow on social media for more. But until we see each other again, thank you so much for watching. Please stay safe out there, be good to each other, and as always, peace out.